For my whole life, I have never really seen a Sega console in real life because everyone just said Nintendo or Sony consoles, myself included, with some Xboxes here and there, and somehow through the years I also never really became too interested in the older Sega consoles through emulation. But recently I thought, hey, why not look for some cool Genesis or Saturn games? So I browsed through my favorite website to totally buy retro video games from for an insanely nice deal price, and the game that caught my eyes was this Purikura Daisakusen. Mostly because of its colorful cover, because who can say no to two cute anime girls on the cover? It's Japanese only, but since the core gameplay and the story are so simple, you need zero knowledge of the language to get into it. It's like going to Japan and eating at McDonald's there. You can easily order a Big Mac without troubles, probably. But if you go to an actual Japanese restaurant and haven't done any research, it will maybe be a bit hard to really make the most out of the menu. Also please, if you go to a different country, just try the actual local cuisine and don't go to any big brands like McDonald's. Even if theirs is maybe a bit different. It should be logical, but I have seen posts online that just make me shake my head. You can survive 2 weeks without McDonald's or Starbucks. I actually googled Starbucks in Japan, and they do have some pretty unique looking ones to be fair. But enough about food metaphors, nobody likes those. In short, there was peace in a miracle world, but then they got invaded by evil machines. That's the story. One thing I would recommend to anyone would be going into the menu and changing credits to 5, which is the maximum, and also maximum lives to 5, because you will most likely need it unless you get really good at the game and like to die and having to replay everything again just to get a bit farther this time and do it again and again and again, like how you would normally do these kind of games, even though the game is not that hard and I'm a beginner in this kind of genre. I haven't played too many ones and guns or gun and ones, except for Pocky and Walkie, and I couldn't make it through that game. Maybe nowadays with the reshrined version I could, or even the original. Back in the day I was dumb and gave up way too easily. I'm a changed person nowadays. I would even say Enter the Gungeon falls kinda under the same genre kinda, one of my favorite roguelikes, and it kinda plays like this. Kinda. Maybe that's a bad example. At the start you can pick between 3 different characters, 2 girls and a big cat. Kurara, Kirara and Grey. They don't really play that different from each other except for that hacking kitty. He's so much bigger than the girls, so it's easier to get hit, and in a game like this you kinda wanna be small and fragile because there's just so much going on, so it's easy to get hit if you don't put full focus on it, and so if your hitbox is bigger, you will most likely get hit bigger, you know? Just like in real life. If you're big, you're a bigger target. Don't be big. Even though you can't change your height. I'm 5'2", so I'm small. You can call me small, I don't care. Maybe his attacks do more damage to balance it out, but I couldn't really feel much of a difference. Kurara and Kirara basically play the same though, except for the red girl having a weapon that goes great with a long range, especially if you find the upgrades that are in red balloons, and the blue girl's weapon turns into a triple shot but with a lower range. In these balloons there can also be a special power up where you turn into an inline skater in a leotard with the girls, and supposedly the cat's real form, which is a human or fairy. He has wings. No love for cat boss, I guess, because he doesn't have cat ears or a cat tail. While this is active, you're also basically unbeatable and can also defeat enemies just by touching them. Every character also has a melee attack. For example, the cat punches with its paw, red girl uses a gummy hammer to bonk enemies with, and blue girl uses a huge Morgenstern. There's some enemies that can only be beaten with the melee attack, and it can also reflect projectiles and shove them back at the enemies, but the timing can be a bit tricky, for a noob like me, obviously. I'm sure when you're really good at the game, you can easily multitask it. Also there's a wall that you can activate by a button press, or you can press into a direction twice, which will make you roll too, which sometimes got activated when I didn't want to, but I think it's mostly fault of the shitty D-pad on the Switch Pro controller that I used to play this with. I used the Chronos emulator and it worked fine except for the intro for some reason, and when I saw the controller has 6 face buttons I thought, oh, that's probably amazing for fighting games, but having to map 2 face buttons onto the trigger buttons on my Pro controller will suck for other games, but luckily the game doesn't use that many buttons. Also in typical fashion for a one and gun or shoot 'em up, you have also an ultimate weapon that you can activate by pressing a button which basically annihilates every enemy on the screen. Every character starts with this tiny egg that will most likely turn into a fairy when you play the game normally. The fairy is a tiny thing behind you here in the first stage, but you can power her up. How? By collecting and 7 animals, also not picking up too many animals and picking up more jewels instead. Beaten enemies turn into all kinds of animals and you have to pick them up to get points, but also to fill up your magic meter on the top left, which you can use to activate the big boom attack and can also store it a couple of times. I once filled it up to the maximum and thought, hey, maybe I get a cool extra attack for it, but nope, it's just the same normal ultimate attack instead of an actual super duper extremely cool special attack, which is kinda disappointing. At the end of every level, you also get a short message where it checks how many jewels and animals you have collected, and if you meet the required numbers, you make your fairy power up, which upgrades your special attack to the next level, and the fairy also shoots her own shots sometimes. That's not all though, and at first I thought there's only a single evolution line of the fairies, but if you do certain things like I said earlier by picking up more jewels and animals, it evolves into something other than the normal fairy and so on. It can even turn into Jack Frost, that everyone knows and loves from the Shin Megami Tensei games. Without checking the wiki, I would have not known that because you basically have to avoid picking up the animals since there are so many more than the jewels, and you also normally want to pick them up since they fill your magic meter. So it's kind of weird that you would normally get punished, but probably Jack Frost or the other evolution line is probably stronger. I haven't really tried it out because I didn't know it existed while I was cutting the video already. One of the things I just love about the game is how beautiful it is. Just look at this, the sprite work, the animations, the cute animals, it's all just so colorful and smooth that I could look at it for hours till my eyes start hurting from staring too much at the TV. But remember, don't look too much at the TV or monitor, else your eyes will turn into a square or rectangle. My parents told me that all the time, but it never happened, even though I was in front of my TV a lot. Why did we let our parents get away with so many lies told? Just like how my parents always told me that if you have a hiccup, it means that someone is thinking about you right now, and I think that's a lie. Probably. Maybe it's actually true. Which would be cute, but recently I have way too many hiccups, and I don't think there's a person or multiple people thinking about me that often. At least I hope they don't, because it would mean they got a really bad case of bad taste. While the normal enemies look fairly boring, the real highlight are the bosses in terms of how they look and move even. Just look at this cool dragon, or this giant crab. Don't forget to hit its weak point for massive damage. The crab kinda pissed me off with one of its attacks, but you can just stand all the way back here to avoid it. Easy cheese, and normally I don't like to see cheese, because I'm lactose intolerant. The stages have the perfect amount of variety. First you go around on some kind of sky fortress, where you can see the village down below, then you're on a moving train, a castle. Every stage just feels completely different with its look, especially the last one, but I wanted talk about it at the end of the video, so people who care about spoilers can turn the video off at that point. Soundtrack wise, it's also pretty damn good, especially boss themes in comparison to the stage themes. On the stage you have music that makes you feel like, oh, this is so cute and it's so happy-go-lucky, wowie, I'm gonna have a sleepover with the girlies and besties, oomphies. But then when you get to the boss, it turns into walk and blast your ears off. Also normally I don't got an ear for stuff like this at all, but this boss just yoinked the whiff of deep purple smoke on the water. Probably because it's such a popular song and easy melody, but then when I was fighting him, I was thinking, wait, I somehow know this song, why does it feel so familiar? And then I realized it. I know this game may seem difficult if you see the gameplay in the background, but it does really feel like it's great for beginners of this genre, but also for people who do crazy one life kind of runs. You find enough health in these stages, and like I said earlier, with maximum lives and credits, even a noob like me was able to play through it. Or I could say breeze through it, because it will only take you around 25 to 30 minutes for a playthrough. But these kind of games sadly are never the most content-filled ones. They're mostly about playing, dying, now you advance more, die again, advance more the next time, and so on, and getting steadily better at it till you can beat it. I thought about doing like a one credit only one, because I got through the earlier parts too easily after playing it a bit, but then when I finally got to the final stage and boss, I thought, yep, scrap that, never mind, I will never be able to beat that guy without losing too many lives. If you don't want to know anything about the final stage or final boss, you can close the video now and go play it, it's really fun. So if you're still here, I will count to 5 before I start talking about the last stage. 1, 2, 3, 3, 4, 5, 5. Now close if you're still here. What a cool change from the other mostly cutie stages to suddenly have a playable HR Jaija level. I know, Contra 3 already had something like this, but in that game it just made sense. Not in some otherwise really cute anime girl game. I love those kind of contrasts. Sadly, you don't really have any cool monsters here except for the slime, but then you walk up to the final boss and goddamn, what a beauty. And here's where the game made me think, holy shit, how am I supposed to ever finish this without losing tons of lives? With a lot of practice, probably. The left arm thing shoots a laser that makes you unable to really walk if you get close. The right arm thingy shoots bullets that turn into more bullets. If you walk in the middle, the face shoots itself at you. There's tons of other enemies dropping from the ceiling that shoot lasers across the stage, and then there's also tons of blobs falling from the ceiling that can only be killed by smashing them, but in the time it takes you to smash 1 or 2 of them, it already spawned another 2. All I could really do was spam my weapon and super attacks and hope for the best. And done. Mission accomplished. We successfully saved the miracle world. Yay. Nope. His face may be destroyed, but he still got his cock out that is extremely sharp. The second phase is kinda easier than the first one, but those blobs are just too annoying. They're not even the hot kind of slime. I just kinda had to vent my frustration about this dummy for a bit, so I feel better now. So, that's the end. Now I feel a bit ashamed of my low score at the end while I type my name in, because I would never be able to beat the last boss without wasting at least 1 credit, so I would never have a good score in it. Because that's how it was back in the day. You lose all your lives, you have to use a continue or a credit, and then your score is resetted. Please remaster or at least re-release this game, Atlas. More people need to play it. But again, emulators rules. So, that's it. Like, subscribe, blah blah, good night, good morning. I love emulation.